Good morning everyone and welcome to S-Pankki January-March 2026 result webcast. My name is Riikka Laine-Tolonen and I am CEO of S-Pankki, and together with me here in the studio is Mika Heikkilä, our CFO. I will first walk you through some highlights from the first quarter and talk a bit about how our strategy is in progress. And then Mika will give a bit more thorough outlook of our financials. We are happy to answer any questions that you have, and you can post those questions to the system and we will answer after the presentations. All in all, our result from the first quarter was in line with our expectations. Our operating profit was 22.4 million euros and there was decline of 6%, of course mainly due to the interest rate level impact on our net interest income. Our capital position remained strong. Our capital adequacy ratio was 25.2%. And also we are very happy to see that our business volumes and customer numbers are growing in this very challenging operating environment. The number of active customers rose to 873,000 and the number of high-value customers to 149,000 customers. So we are well on track towards our strategic targets. We are also happy to see that we were ranked as the most reputable bank in Finland in February published Reputation and Trust Survey. Our reputation improved in all dimensions of the survey. This year we will continue to implement our strategy and we are focusing on renewing the service model and accelerating improvements in scalability. And of course, we continue to work to strengthen our foundations and risk culture. A couple of more highlights is that our deposit base developed well, growth 8% to 10.3 billion euros. Lending base remained quite stable. However, the assets under management grew with 3% to 8.9 billion euros. When we look at the economic outlook, the main headline, of course, is the conflict in the Middle East. It has increased the uncertainty of the consumers in the market. Actually, in the beginning of the year, we saw some positive improvements. All in all, household deposits and investments increased, and also the purchasing power of Finns improved, and also actually indebtedness declined. However, of course, the conflict in the Middle East has had an impact and increased the uncertainty. The increase in interest rates and of course in fuel prices has had an impact on household, and we have seen that the consumer confidence has even further decreased after these news. The housing market, which is important for us, remains subdued and there's no clear signs of recovery yet. The Finnish Parliament is currently considering a proposal to extend the housing loan repayment period to 40 years, and we welcome this initiative. We see it as an opportunity to create more flexibility to customer plans around housing loans. Particularly, this could be interesting for first home buyers, and of course for those who wish to combine savings with loan repayments. And that is of course always a good advice for Finns. To summarize, what we can see is that there are all in all mixed signals, and the main point being that the conflict in the Middle East is expected still to have a negative impact on growth prospects in Finland and of course have an impact on consumer confidence this year. And that is a good segue to our outlook, and we have kept our outlook unchanged. And we expect our operating profit for the whole year to stay at the same or slightly lower level than in year 2025. We continue our investments related to implementing our strategy at the high level. And of course, this outlook is subject to uncertainties regarding the operating environment, geopolitical tensions, economy, employment and real estate market. Let's then have a look at our business segments, and first banking. Banking has the largest contribution to our operating profit. We saw here good activity, and household customer deposit base continued to grow. It is now 9.6 billion euros, growth 7% year on year. We are also happy to see that during the first quarter this year, it has continued strong. We have actually seen growth in the deposit base of household 220 million euros since the end of last year. Even though the housing loan market is still subdued and we can see that the housing prices are declining, we are happy to see that there has been good activity and we are more and more interesting housing loan bank to Finns. We have seen that the market share in new housing loan sales has increased. Customers have been active, and a good signal of that is that, of course, the number of active customers has increased, but also they are using our services more actively. As Etukortti Visa card purchases grew with 10.6% from the corresponding period last year. From a financial perspective, banking operating profit was 85.7 million euros and operating profit 24.3 million euros. Wealth management, our second business area, we saw good development when we look at our position as a unit holder. So the number of the unit holders in S-Bank funds increased. When we look a year back, the growth has been 14% and the number of unit holders is today, or was at the end of quarter, 527,000. We are happy to see that when the consumer confidence has decreased and the conflict in the Middle East has had an impact, we haven't seen no significant impact on customers' investment behavior during the first quarter. Our operating profit in wealth management was 300,000 euros. And the asset under management grew to 8.9 billion euros. In net subscriptions, we saw a decline, and that was negative compared to a year back. However, we can state that this is largely due to a few large institutional redemptions, while the consumer segment continued to develop positively. Then let's recap our strategy and how we are progressing the implementation of it. All in all, we have the strategy period to continue until the end of 2027, and we want to be even more customer-focused and digital bank. We have 5 strategic objectives. We want to grow the number of active customers and the number of also high-value customers who consolidate more of their businesses with S-Bank. And this describes well our ambition to capture the potential of our customer base. We aim for high customer experience and high reputation and trust. And of course, we have profitability targets regarding cost-income ratio and return on equity. We have 3 key change areas, the first one being Handelsbanken integration, which we have implemented already successfully, and now we are working on renewing our service model and improving scalability. All in all, when we look at this transformation journey, we are now halfway through. The first 2 years was very much preparing for the Handelsbanken transaction, and last year actually finalizing the integration and building the stronger team after the transaction. And this year we focus more on growth, and as mentioned, we want to grow with active customers, but especially with the high-value customers. We are working heavily also with the service model and where the core, of course, is our S-Mobile and improving our scalability. One key milestone on this journey is that we have actually implemented our values or implemented our values. Of course, after transaction, we are now a larger team, and we did actually quite extensive cultural survey last year. And based on that, we asked ourselves that what is the behavior, what are the values, what we want to see in S-Bank in order to continue our strategy and our growth. And we came up with 3 values. First of all, we want to be bravely unique. Then we want to be effortlessly impactful. And then we want to be larger together. And these reflect our identity, at least I think that very well, and they guide our decision making and daily behavior as a one united team. Renewing our service model is one of those key change areas, and there we want to serve our customers more comprehensively and in a more customer-focused way. And of course, at the core of this, that we see high potential in our customer portfolio, and we want to, with the better and improved service model, capture more of that. We are working on developing our channels, and there in the core is S-Mobile. We want to get all the customer journeys starting from mobile. And then we enhance the value of the customer base, and there we are, as mentioned, aiming for especially, of course, increasing the number of active customers, but also those who consolidate more their banking with us. And then, of course, improving the overall customer experience is in the focus. And as mentioned earlier, we want to be the most convenient bank for Finns in the market. When we take a bit longer perspective of our journey towards digital bank, it's good to see that actually we can see a clear shift in daily banking from manual services to digital channels. In this picture, we can see that the number of active customers has grown from 21 to 2025 with 61%. And simultaneously, the S-Mobile number of active users, weekly level unique users, has grown with 80%. And this demonstrates very well that our customers find our digital services. And at the same time, with this impressive growth, we have been able to decrease the number of manual and human contacts in our service points and with 14%. So these are good proof points that the strategy is working, and we have scalable growth. And more importantly, this of course also offers us an opportunity to free up resources to advisory and specialist roles, which support then growth with more demanding customers. And as mentioned, S-Mobile app is in the core of the service model, and it keeps growing in its popularity. We know from our customers that 95% of our customers prefer digital banking in daily banking errands. And we can see that the number of unique users keeps growing. At the end of last quarter, we had almost 1.7 million unique users weekly and 2.6 customers who have uploaded S-Mobile. During this strategy period, we have launched 24 new self-service features in S-Mobile. All of those are actually quite important. They have a large value for our customers and of course then impact on our efficiency. And as we can see, what we bring to S-Mobile, it gets a good traction. As an example, already now 50% of banking services for children are opened digitally. And customers are very pleased with S-Mobile. The NPS is 66, and it is one of the most popular when you go to the app stores and see the rankings. To summarize the first quarter, we are well on track when we look at our progress towards our strategic targets. Active customers, 873,000 and Q1 this year. Impressive growth of 200,000 active customers during the current strategy period. And also the number of high-value customers is growing, and we are well on track towards our target this year. Customer experience, our NPS March was 50, and you can see there's slight decrease. But what I want to stress here is that it is, of course, an excellent number in banking, this 50. Reputation and trust, strong and developed very well. When we look at the profitability metrics, you can see that we are a bit below considering our long-term target. And of course, in return on equity, 6.8%, you can see that we are very well capitalized. And of course, there is an impact from our operating profit level. And with cost-income ratio, we are there. You can see 71%, of course, represents our heavy investments in our strategy. To summarize the first quarter, all in all, result in line with expectations in a very uncertain environment. We are working with our service model and accelerating improvements in scalability. We are very pleased to see that we are ranked as the most reputable bank, and there was improvement in all dimensions. And also positive development in the number of active customers, and very happy with our activity and that the customers are more and more interested of S-Bank as a housing loan bank during the first quarter. So well done, and big thanks, of course, to our customers, S-Bank team, and our owners and investors for this very promising first quarter. And with this, I give over to Mika.
Thank you. Let's continue with total income. So total income decreased by 5% and was 95 million in this Q1. It's mainly due to the lower interest rates. Positively, we can see that net interest income was 66 million, which exceeded also the level of previous quarter, this Q4. In operating profit, we can see that the level is almost the same as it was in Q4, this 22 million, which was down this 6.4% year-on-year basis. Here in the cost analysis side, on the left-hand side, totally we can summarize that our total cost also decreased by 1.7%, and also the net credit losses decreased by 33%. While looking the income split, we can see that the net fee income is still increasing. So now its share of the total income is 26%, and net interest income is 72%. Our cost-income ratio was 71%, and total income to total asset annualized basis was 2.8% in Q1. As Riikka mentioned, our deposits were up 7.5%, so it means total in 12 months period over 700 million. So the household customers grew 7.3% and corporate customers 9.8%. Totally the corporate customers was 700 million and household customers this 9.6 billion. our lending was only slightly up 0.3%, totaling this 9.4 billion. We can see that the household customers was this 8.2 billion and the corporate customers 1.2 billion. Also, the asset under management was up 3%, especially in the fund capital, over 12%, and totally the asset under management was 8.9 billion. In repayment holidays, there is quite stable development. So the share of those loans in household part was 5.8%, and it's slightly down from the end of the last year when it was 6%. And it's in euros, it is almost 500 million. Also, the credit losses, there is quite solid development there. The expected and final credit losses, they were totally 5 million, as they were 7.4 million in comparison period. Non-performing loans, they were a little bit up, 1.9%. And also the ECL provision was slightly up, 0.6 million, totaling 49.8 million at the end of the March. Our balance sheet was totally 13.4 billion euros. The household customer growth is driving the development there, and in general there were no major changes. Also, we were not active in the market-based wholesale funding in this period. Our own funds are totaling over 1 billion, as the regulatory requirement is 440 million. Also, we can see that the total risk exposure amount, only slight increase there. It was totally almost 4.2 billion euros. We are also fulfilling the MREL requirement clearly. Our own funds and eligible liabilities was this 1.6 billion, and the requirement is a little bit more than 1 billion, so there is almost 550 million buffer above the requirement. Our capital position is a strong equity ratio, 7.9%, and on the right-hand side you can also see that the total capital requirement is this 13%. It was earlier 13.5%, and the capital ratio is 25.2%, and CET1 ratio is 23.2%. Our liquidity and investment portfolio a little bit up, and it was 3.6 billion at the end of March. There is slight increase in the investment portfolio, which increased by 80 million euros. Our liquidity is still very strong. LCR ratio is 331%, and those level 1 assets comprise 96% of the total portfolio. And to summarize these key figures, so as earlier mentioned, our result was in line with the expectation. We still have the solid funding base. Loan-to-deposit ratio was 91%, very stable credit quality, and our equity is very strong. It's now over 1 billion, which is also reflecting to the ROE percentage. And in overall, our robust capital base supports growth opportunities also in the future. So thank you from my part.
Thank you, Mika. And As there's no questions, we are happy to thank for your attention and wish you very nice rest of the day. Thank you.